Hi and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of August 3rd, 2020. First, let's do a really quick recap of the predictions for the previous week, the week of July 27th. In terms of the market direction, I primarily got it wrong. I think it was not a very good week for me in terms of the direction predictions. So I did think that on Monday, the 27th, we would have a really large drop, and actually market went up. Then on Tuesday, I thought the market would go up and it went down. Wednesday, again, I thought it was going to be a down day and it was an up day. Thursday, I gave it a greater probability of the market going up, and it was actually a mixed day where Nasdaq did go up, but then Dow Jones went down. And Friday, once again, we had a prediction of a down day and the market went up. So I guess I was correct in the sense that this was going to be like this zigzaggy kind of an up down week, but the exact prediction direction of the market I was wrong on. In terms of the ongoing kind of a background prediction, we have still continuing sort of I guess prediction of multiple slowly transiting, I guess, planets, particularly Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn in Capricorn, and this kind of a grand conjunction, typically, especially Pluto with Saturn, and again, Saturn with anything really, and multiple planets in Capricorn, typically would coincide with increased seismic activity and increased geopolitical changes, as well as changes in like large structures in the world, either large construction projects or perhaps old buildings or old entities breaking into smaller entities, or vice versa, new partnerships being formed, or borders being redefined, or old leaders stepping down. Again, large earthquakes, large-scale disasters, all of the above. We will still have this influence with us for the rest of the year. And of course, we see this large pandemic. Last time we had the similar like Saturn-Pluto conjunction, I think it was conjunction in the 80s, we had AIDS epidemic. So definitely a lot of sort of transformations that involve large changes, power sort of changes hands. Again, Pluto has to do with power, and big, long-lasting changes. And again, so for that last week specifically, we did have a number of, I guess, fairly powerful earthquakes from 5.8 in Papua New Guinea to 6.4 in Philippines, and there was also a 4.2 in Southern California. Not necessarily a large-scale earthquake, but definitely something that was significant for that area. We also had some news on 1st of August about a large crane collapsing in Indian shipyard, and it killed at least 11 people, unfortunately. So again, these are the kind of manifestations we can expect to continue throughout the year. Anything that's like toll, or somebody who's at the top and things then fall down, be it due to some earthquake, or again changes in power, geopolitical shifts, etc. I didn't see any news specifically last week about powerful leaders either passing away, being disposed, etc. But again, this is a background influence, and we will have additional possibilities of such events coming up again through the end of this year at least. In terms of specific predictions that I made for last week, I did predict that July 26th through 29th will see increased focus on the things like oil, chemicals, gas, pharmaceuticals, drugs, religion, navy, water, any sort of anything to do with like water, transportation over water, or water pollution, mental health, places sort of that are secluded, such as prisons or monasteries, hospitals, as well as anything that's like based on water, like beverages, etc. And that's because we had a strong sort of focus on Neptune during that time, and Neptune governs all of these things. And we did have some related global manifestations. For example, we had announcement, I guess, about some attack. Let's see what it was. I guess ISIS attacked, I think, a prison in Afghanistan, and after which about 300 prisoners were basically at large, and 29 people were killed, 50 wounded. And let's see, we also had similar predictions for US, where because again, aspects to US chart happening at the same time, that also were indicative of focus on like oil, gas, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, water pollution, basically similar topics. And as well for US, specifically for July 27th through 28th, I predicted that there may be announcements about some deals that may involve military weapons, as well as oil, gas, chemicals, navy, etc. And for US, we did also have some news. All of this was on the 2nd of August about riots, I guess, and prison riots in Georgia. But then we also had additional news that, again, of this Neptunian kind. So, of course, there was, I guess, tropical storm, basically bringing a lot of water and flooding to Florida. There were also some announcements from, I guess, by US government. A permit was issued, I guess, by President Trump to grant the operator of the existing Keystone oil pipeline permission to basically increase the maximum throughput capacity. They also issued 2 permits for on the 29th for the oil export infrastructure along the US border with Mexico to increase, I guess, export or boost exports of crude to Mexico. There was also news about Marathon Petroleum, basically sale of its gas stations to the owner of 7-Eleven for the deal about $21 billion. And as well as, I guess, sort of on the side, the Marathon Petroleum is also going to idle 2 refineries indefinitely. I guess they were idle before, now they're going to turn them into terminals. And of course, a big news from last week is that Kodak had basically received a loan from the government under the first of a kind, I guess, Defense Production Act. And here's the connection of this, military as well as chemicals, as well as pharmaceuticals. And basically the loan is going to be for Kodak to shift into drug production, and they received $765 million in loan to do that. They will produce key components of some drugs, basically to, I guess, reduce reliance on those components coming from China. And so definitely this is a Neptunian manifestation, but also specific to US and specific to, again, it being related to sort of a military and financial, I guess, positive development for US in that sense. And so that was exactly sort of the prediction that I was making. And also it happened, also this announcement came on the 28th of July, which is also the time where I was predicting that this would happen. There's some other related news specific to like this Neptunian sort of manifestations. Like there were some oil discoveries globally. This French, I guess, Total and Apache Corp made a new major oil discovery offshore, I guess, in somewhere on Suriname. The Rosneft also discovered a large new field in Western Siberia, oil field. Let's see, what else? Yeah, similar news like that. So there were quite a few, as I was expecting, with, again, increased emphasis on all things Neptunian. And I also made a prediction for around the July 30th through August 1st that there would be increased focus and news about either sort of materials that are excavated, such as various rocks, metals, like mines, etc., as well as anything that's like underground or secret and hidden, including various like spying, hacking, and secretive activities. And we did have some news basically about related, I guess, to coal. So one, on the 29th, the biggest US coal carbon capture project had to be halted because basically the low oil prices made that carbon capture in the United States uneconomical. And also, I guess this may not have been something that happened on a particular date, but the news specifically came up on the 28th. There was a news article, headline that U.S. coal production crashed to 1978 lows. And as I was mentioning, I think in the previous weekly prediction, is that I'm looking not necessarily at the aspects or transits, right, not necessarily indicate when something happens, which they may do that as well, but also when something will show up in the sort of public view, in the public eye, such as through the news. And so at the time where certain aspects are in place, we will also have this awareness of certain topics, I guess, more in I guess, global sort of psyche or psyche of a particular country. And so maybe it may affect how people react to, say, investments. Are they feeling optimistic? Are they overlooking details? Or are they feeling a little bit more conservative and kind of looking at things, I guess, with more caution, and therefore they may be obviously making their investment decisions accordingly. So let's see, there was also, of course, news on the 30th of July. There's basically a trove of files related to Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case was unsealed. And again, that's your this underground kind of a covered secretive activities that were being kind of more exposed into the public eye. And again, the time is exactly when I predicted that we would have more of such news in the, I guess, more of such event covered in the news. Then I also made some predictions for US, again, some for July 27th, 28th, that there might be some positive news, such as permissions granted for some project to begin for military. And there was an announcement, I believe it was on the 29th, about basically Trump planning to withdraw around 12,000 troops from Germany. And then also, I also made predictions for China, that specifically for also 27th, 28th of July, that there may be some important public announcement or an event that may affect large numbers of people, and it will be related to countries' kind of goals and ambitions, basically how to maybe increase earnings, or how to control better some risky investments, or how to manage financial activities in general. And I didn't necessarily see anything that specifically, in my mind at least, would relate to like finance. I was thinking it would be something along the lines of some fiscal or some monetary policy. I didn't see that per se. However, I did see news. Of course, we have this big news on the 31st. I think it came out. Reuters reported that Microsoft was in exploratory, I guess, talks with ByteDance to basically I guess purchase their US purchase, I guess, the part of the company, the TikTok rather, that is specifically located in the US. And let's see, there was also news on the 28th specifically. Again, I see a Reuters headline. Again, I'm not sure if it relates to like an event or an announcement, but again, that's the news that came up around the same time, and about the unsolicited seeds being received in US by various people, and some people are planting them, some people are not planting, and basically, but there was this investigation as to why, US Department of Agriculture is investigating how come, so many people in US receive those packets to begin with. And again, this is not necessarily a public announcement, but it is something that was affecting large enough numbers of people to make it into the headlines right around the same time, and it was associated with some activities out of China. And then also something that I think is a little bit more relevant to this prediction that I was making about China making a large announcement related to sort of financial investment and something for the betterment of the Chinese economy. On the 27th of July, there was an announcement about China's first dedicated environmental fund, as I guess it's called the National Green Development Fund. And basically they announced that fund, officially I think they announced it on the 15th of July, by the 27th they already have raised about almost 13 billion in worth sort of course in yuan, but equivalent to about 13 billion US dollars in their first sort of fundraising phase. And basically the purpose of this fund would be to support green transformation of the Chinese economy and strengthen the role of the market in fighting pollution. So again, this would be more related to what I was seeing in terms of, again, investing money or controlling how the money is spent to kind of avoid maybe risky investments. And again, it would be something that would be affecting large numbers of people and would be a large scale project. And this kind of fits this the most, in my opinion. And of course, this also fits under this ongoing predicted sort of a transformation in China in this year. And this would be like the second wave of it, specifically for July. That's related to any sort of transformations related to the 12th house, so to speak, in sort of astrological terms, which has to do with pollution, fighting pollution maybe, improving how laboratories are basically managed, or how various kind of research that's secretive or is maybe in those secretive, or not necessarily secretive, but protected labs is being handled, or innovative research in healthcare, or related to Navy, chemicals, oil, again, chemicals, pharmaceuticals. And indeed, there's definitely has been emphasis in China this whole year, of course, with this COVID-19 initially being registered there, and with speculation that it came out of a lab in Wuhan in China. At the same time, we also have China coming up with interesting innovations. Like I said, I think some time before, about the potentially being able to grow enamel, regrow enamel, rather than having file the teeth down and replace them with some fake stuff. And also, of course, now they're coming up with this new first of its kind green fund. So definitely, as I said, these manifestations can be positive or negative. You have this outbreak on the one hand, on the other hand, there's some improvements specifically in those areas. And speaking of that prediction, we basically had this kind of a second wave of this influence from July, approximately July 6th through the 24th. And then the first activities, I guess, were more or less in March. And then the third wave, which will have another sort of emphasis on either pandemic or some sort of resolution of the situation. Maybe perhaps this will be a final time where either a solution is found, like a treatment or vaccine, or even if a solution is to make some sort of a decision about how maybe travel can or cannot occur, or release all of the, or I guess lift all of the restrictions or impose strict restrictions, whatever that may be, or come up with follow-up, I guess, resolutions on similar projects, like maybe if this Green Deal fund, not Green Deal, I'm not sure, basically this green fund, I guess, that aims to fight against pollution in China. Maybe this will be the final phase of their fundraising. So basically any such activities related to Navy, chemicals, pollution, pharmaceuticals, as well as infectious diseases, we should expect news out of China around October 26th through November 20th, and that could involve announcement that they have started producing a vaccine, or that they have made a decision onto how they will be treating patients moving forward. But this might be this final sort of a wave where decision that's made at that time will continue on more or less unchanged, and this will be sort of a trajectory for some even years to come out of that. Or there will be an announcement of some really cool developments again in biotech, sort of a medical industry, where again they will be then used and for the benefit hopefully of humanity for again years to come. So that's definitely something to look for in November. Let's see, so then moving on to this week, as I mentioned, the global predictions global background of this increased seismic activity, geopolitical shifts, power shifts, etc. This will continue on through at least the end of this year. This week, this influence peaks on August 3rd and 4th. Then, as I mentioned before several times already, not this time, but previous weekly overviews, August is going to be a fairly kind of intense month, and we will see maybe more fighting, more protests, increased probability of disasters, earthquakes, and maybe shootings, explosions, violence, either anti-governmental sort of a protest or anti some large corporations where, again, they will be perceived as either oppressive or it will be just more kind of secrets and scandals or spying or something like dirty and will be uncovered. And again, this could be, again, leading to leadership changes in either government or corporations. And these these stressful aspects also have strong, I guess, relations to charts of both US and China, and for US especially 13th through 21st of August, and for China 9th through 17th. In the US, focus may be on things like, again, governmental or corporate restructuring, debt, loans, various scandals, bankruptcies, also concerns about real estate, retail sales, communication, transportation businesses like cars, car manufacturers, car rentals, anything to do with transportation and communication. And for China, the focus may be, again, on secretive activities, pollution, pharmaceuticals, recycling, chemicals, oil, etc. Let's see, and then from, I guess, starting in June of this year and ending again around November of this year and picking up especially in November 4th through about the 20th, globally there will be increased emphasis on anything to do with like nuclear power, again, power shifts, power generation, power plants, and there may be some shakeups along the lines of, again, power changing hands, either maybe literally selling of a business or changes in leadership, or could be sort of increased focus on like underground activities, be it literally like some sort of a waste storage that's buried underground, or mining, or nuclear power waste, or it could be secretive activities that are underground related, again, spying, some sort of like services like FBI, any of these kind of secretive, I guess, things that involve, I guess, some sort of secrecy, but may also be investigating some illegal activities or perhaps like financial manipulation. So we will hear basically throughout, again, through the end of this year, but it will pick up again in November. And this may also lead to basically some shakeups. And we had, I guess, a couple weeks back, a situation where a judge that was not investigating, but was, I guess, really put in charge of a case that was related to, I guess, investigation of Epstein ties to Deutsche Bank or something like that. And she basically was attacked, and her son died and her husband was critically injured. And so we may hear more about either attacks on or at places that are related to, like, say, courthouses or judges, diplomats, professors, places of worship, or like embassies, and or, again, power plants or underground. So again, either disasters or, as we just heard, maybe problems for businesses that may be related to, like, say, excavation, like coal mining. And that would be intensifying in November, but we may hear still news through sort of between now and November. And then finally, as I said, we had some news about focus on like oil, but also other Neptunian topics last week, but we will continue, or rather we will pick up with these kind of news and even stronger sort of focus in November of 2020 through about February of 2021, especially at the end of January of 2021. So that's where we may hear more about news related to oil, but also, of course, gas, chemicals, Navy, etc. And for those kind of news, there may be potentially news about an accident, again, especially at the end of January of 2021, and that may result in water pollution, or some other significant developments may occur related to, again, oil, gas, chemicals. So either fighting among countries that are, involved in manufacturing sort of relevant products, or or could be that literally there's an accident and there's a lot of oil that's being burned because of that, or a ship, capsizes that's transporting oil, leading to pollution, or some sort of a standoff, again, that involves ships somewhere in one of these, like Strait of Hormuz or something like that. So that is, again, coming up. This intensification is coming up November through February of next year, but then especially at the end of January, and at the same time, at the end of January, there may be some sort of a sudden financial, news in financial markets, and they may be either some surprises related to, say, airlines, telecommunications, IT companies, as well as some surprising developments related to earnings, finance, currencies, and banks. So again, could be even power outages. And again, this also could manifest in some sort of power shift. So maybe a leader dies and a new person comes to power, or somebody is forcefully removed. And that, again, November through February, especially at the end of January. But it will definitely be, like I said, power struggles, but also could relate to, again, power production, like a power plant, experiencing some outages, service outages. And there may be serious stock market volatility, which again, both is affecting oil, gas, etc., but also finance and IT companies and telecommunications, etc., airlines. And that peaks around January 18th through 29th of 2021. And then looking even further ahead, another sort of time where we may be focusing on oil, gas, and similar Neptunian topics would be April of 2021, especially April 8th through 11th. And again, there may be renewed tensions and fighting over oil or about oil prices. And again, they may be accompanied by a large market drop on the 8th and or 9th of April 2021. So in terms of the stock market direction for the week of August 3rd, I think it will be overall probably an up week. I predicted a large move and potentially up on August 3rd, and I did already post predictions yesterday on Sunday, and I'm recording this at the end of the day on Monday the 3rd, so I already saw basically what happened, and the market did go up as predicted. However, I thought that the move would be even sort of larger than it was. It was a decent sized move, but I thought it was going to be even larger. Then let's see, Tuesday, I think it will also be an up day, so it will be Wednesday. Thursday, I give it about 55% chance of market going down, just doesn't look as, quite as uplifting or happy as the rest of the week. And then Friday, again, market going up. So for July 30th through August 1st, I think I already mentioned that, by now we sort of are past that. Increased focus on like sales, communication, transportation. But let's skip that. I'm not sure why I even have it here. Then on August 4th and 5th, I think there will be increased focus on earnings and expenses of companies related to IT, telecommunications, retail sales, social media, cars, airplanes, education, and, as I said, transportation, communication businesses in general. We may hear about increased earnings or some sort of decisive goals to increase earnings, maybe through more sales, allowing more travel, raising prices. Of course, it can also be cuts, but again, the goal will be either continue, solidifying the profits, or if the profits were insufficient, to make decisive changes to increase the profits. And that's communication, transportation, generally speaking. Then on the 6th, on Thursday, there may again be, within this week, increased focus on news about like gas, oil, chemicals, pharmaceuticals, infectious diseases, pollution, drugs, religion, music, movies, photography, etc. So maybe more news about Kodak. And these might be about like the new projects, some innovations, some developments, where again something new was invented or introduced. However, the details may be unclear, so it's possible maybe it will be some news about like we have this great new vaccine or some sort of solution to, some sort of problem, like obviously COVID comes to mind. However, it may be not introduced with sufficient amount of detail, so there will be a lot of confusion, or there may be news about we have this rise in death or something like that, but the details will not be provided, and so therefore I think that there may be a general feel of this uncertainty or confusion in the air, that even if there's a positive news about some innovation or some development in those areas, the confusion or concerns about lack of details may actually bring the market down on Thursday. And Thursday looks like might be an important day for China. There might be increased news about like various partnerships, agreements, deals, and the deals may either be reached, but at the same time, China may be kind of sort of protesting maybe the conditions of it, or maybe there may be concerns voiced about basically whether or not the conditions of the deal are somehow, fit China's goals, I guess, for like health or safety, or their ambitions in like the areas of aerospace or some high-tech sort of IT area, could be related to TikTok, who knows, or anything similar along the lines of something that's high-tech. Aerospace requires a lot of like this high power and high sort of a degree of, I guess, skill, or safety and health concerns. And so either the deal is reached but China is not satisfied with the conditions, or the deal may not be quite reached, but come to this kind of a crescendo right around Thursday the 6th, because again, it may run into the negotiations may run into this concern that China is not sure that basically whether the deal offers sufficient, I guess, health, safety, or safety for food, or whether or not its ambitions in the area again of IT, telecommunications, aerospace, like high tech, etc., are basically sufficiently met. And I also put on my blog at Tolstunka.com several sort of a glance ahead predictions that cover August and into early September, but just to kind of highlight, I guess, just for the next 2 weeks. For China, as I said, 9th through 17th of August may be quite significant. There may be increased focus on healthcare, infectious diseases, pharmaceuticals, navy, secretive activities, chemicals, oil, gas, pollution, recycling, etc. And around that, there may be a lot of tensions, fightings, and arguments. And these tensions may lead to either some military tensions or threats. So perhaps, its international partner that is asking for something could be related to a navy, maybe fighting over like the water boundaries or something like that, or it could be, again, related to healthcare situations. But basically, there may be some tensions around that. And at the same time, there may also be flare-ups of infectious diseases, problems with pharmaceuticals, drugs, or pollution, and an increased number of accidents, such as, including mudslides, earthquakes, or some infrastructure problems like something collapsing because it's old, as well as increased number of like protests, unrests, especially in places that are normally kind of hidden and isolated, such as prisons, hospitals, and monasteries. And there may be some secretive, hidden, manipulative activities that may at this time become public, or at least they will be trying to become public. Maybe like a whistleblower comes forward. And these activities, it's not clear to me whether the China will be the perpetrator of such activities or they will be a victim of such activities, so it could go either way, but these activities may elicit a lot of anger. And same time, there may also be problems that occur, like not only hidden problems that relate to hidden secretive activities, but also literally occur underwater, such as with like submarine, island, dams, and those may involve fires, explosions, or release of pollutants into water. And there may also be strong emphasis on secrecy and deception, so we may not necessarily know all the details about these situations. However, because of the secrecy and hidden manipulations, that may lead to kind of the country kind of going to leading, to them rushing and making some risky moves. and this may negatively affect earnings. Alternatively, what there could be is they will be pushing aggressively for increasing the earnings and overlook some safety measures, and either it may lead to like pollution, for example, being released because again certain security controls are overlooked or I guess not complied with because again there's an aggressive push for earnings, or again in the pursuit of these earnings some secretive or illegal activities may be covered up. Then for US, I would say especially from around the 10th through 14th, there may actually probability of positive news regarding like increased earnings or some improvement in like long distance travel, import-export, immigration, and positive developments related to like international affairs, like a profitable deal may be reached, long distance travel conditions may improve, or some act or law is passed that specifically affects immigration policy but is I guess beneficial for the country. I did hear today, I guess there was an announcement about Trump preventing, I guess, federal agencies from hiring HB1 visa applicants for federal agencies, but there may be additional news coming around 10th through 14th that again will either solidify these decisions or will be additional follow-up decisions along those lines. And also for US, 13th through 21st of August looks to be significant for various leadership changes, power shifts, and that will be related to either government or large corporations, and it may also involve like banks or finances, so restructuring of like debt, bankruptcies, and that will specifically affect like retail sales kind of or companies that the retailers, as well as companies that relate to like communication, transportation, including anything to do with travel, social media, newspapers, car manufacturers, car businesses, etc. And there may be some also potentially changes about how schools are regulated or education, and there may be concerns about like basically lack of safety or some problems. And again, this may require government to stepping in and kind of doing some restructuring to make sure everybody's safe or that businesses are regulated. And then finally, globally, August 10th through 15th may be a tense time where there may be increased tensions, like fighting among various groups may intensify, anti-governmental protests may be going on, already of course going on somewhere in the world all the time, but there will be even more news about that. Like if there's skirmishes on various borders, maybe India, China, or somewhere else like that, they may be kind of intensifying at that time. So more probabilities of violent attacks, fires, explosions, and these may affect either, again, corporate and governmental leaders, but also old locations, maybe some archaeological site or ancient building that's really old and tall, and or underground locations like a mine or nuclear waste storage facility, or some underground could be again archaeological sites. So something may be damaged in the process that was powerful before, well known, and either really like tall or is buried underground. And yes, there is increased probability of like a nuclear power accident or accident that will release pollution. Or there could be, again, increased probability of like riots in prisons. Something involves either entities that are themselves involved in something illegal, or the activities themselves that are going to increase are going to be of illegal nature. And there may also be increased probability of like news about attacks on or accidents involving prominent athletes, especially those who are like into fighting, racing, and such persons may suffer attack or an injury. And there may also be increased probability of like a large or significant earthquakes, mudslides, or volcanic eruptions. And I'm not going to read through all of these, but I guess a similar time of globally kind of intensification and also increased probability of like earthquakes, mudslides, various like global power shifts, etc., is going to then come after this. This was globally 10th through 14th of August, and the second sort of period of time of August to look for or to be prepared for is August 22nd through 28th, where again we may have more mudslides, earthquakes, protests, some military kind of skirmishes, various accidents and disasters, and again athletes that are, say, car racers may suffer an injury where something that's like moving fast, like a fast moving car, is crashing into the wall. So that kind of imaging comes to mind at that time. So again, there's some more specific details at Tolstunka.com, but I don't want to ramble on too long. But basically, August might be somewhat of a stressful month. However, this particular week, the week of August 3rd, looks like a primarily up week for the stock market. So I guess enjoy and stay safe out there, and come back and watch some more of these videos next week. Until then, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.